So I'm Justin Wenczka. I'm from Opera MediaWorks, and I'm going to be talking to you about getting the best out of your app store and display marketing strategies. So an overview of Opera MediaWorks. Basically, we're an end-to-end mobile solution, and we like to think that we're powering the mobile ad economy. Now, what that actually means is that we represent 17,000 publishers, and we actually produce the tech which allows them to advertise. So everything from standard banners to really elaborate rich media ad units, we supply them with that technology, and it means that we can reach 1 billion users through our advertising network, and we serve 100 billion ads to those users throughout the course of an average month. Now, the end-to-end bit comes in because we work directly with publishers, we work directly with advertisers, and that enriches the tech that we have, and it means that we can allow our advertisers to engage with their users to a greater extent than pretty much any other network. So we are the largest independent mobile ads platform globally. And as we are part of the Opera group, and we have the Opera browser as part of our technology, we are actually Serbia's #1 independent mobile browser, which obviously I'm sure you guys already knew. So what I'm going to run through today is basically a case study of some activity that we've done with one of our advertisers, who shall remain nameless. So if that is a question, it shall go unanswered. But basically, what we helped them to do was to increase the scale of users that they had. We managed to increase their brand internationally, and we've worked with them for an incredibly long amount of time. So we've seen multiple games launches and different franchises and so on, and helped them from the grassroots on that. So with regards to the app promotion, it basically breaks down into 3 different segments. We've got the environment that we run in, which is pretty much on our network exclusively. The format, so the type of advertising that we were running for these guys, and how we improved that process, so how we worked out that things were working, or most importantly, when things weren't working. And a couple of points on strategy, really. So what we learned from the experience of working with these guys for such a prolonged amount of time, and hopefully what you guys can take away and will help you to promote your individual properties. So the first up is the environment that we're working in. So as I said before, we represent 17,000 publishers globally. Now, when you think of that number, it can be quite deceptive, because it seems like just a mass of very similar properties going through and so on. But every site that we have has a different audience. Every site will have different subsections, and the audience will be varied throughout the entire property. So basically, when you start to look at this type of activity, it can seem quite daunting. So what you've got to do is you've got to start small. You've got to focus on the core areas, and then grow activity from there. So usually, when we're working with games applications, or when we're working with just apps in general, port 1 will be, getting downloads as much as possible, and really scaling up the user base of any app. So through our network, we've got a lot of app recommendation publishers. So this will be, app of the day type stuff, and along with the Opera browser, we actually have an app store, an independent app store that is effectively like a pay-to-play store. So anyone can submit an app to the store, and you're going to get, a fair amount of downloads. But what you can do is you can invest in display advertising throughout the property, and then that's going to help increase the downloads globally. It's about 70 million downloads a month. But the reason it's the first port of call is that we know that when people click on the advertising within this property, they're 2 times more likely to go through and download an application. But it's not all about the amount of users that you're getting through. We found that there has to be the right user going through. So we had to expand through the different activity that we're doing and expand through the network. Because it's great, focusing on sort of like 1-2% of our inventory and our publishers, because it ticks the boxes. We've got to make sure that we're actually getting long-term and high-value users for advertisers. So expand onto our display network, which is 100 billion impressions. Again, it's one of those things. How do you identify that audience and then make sure that you're growing the activity for them? So what we would do is take third-party data through use of tracking solutions like AdX and HasOffers and all those sort of guys, and feed that into the display activity that we were doing. So we could find out, that your ideal user interacts with this Sky Sports at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and your ads will do really well with Domino's Pizza or something like that in a surrounding environment. So we would take that display activity and basically expand out and try and find these pockets of inventory. But then what we look to do is to focus on those areas which are working really well and build something which is really cool that your users want to interact with. So by focusing on really impactful ad units and making sure that when somebody goes to a site and we know that your users want to download and interact with your game, that it gets the primary focus. And the reason I chose this slide to sort of summarize it is, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but this is a guy who built the city out of Final Fantasy VII in Minecraft. And as soon as I got shown it, it was one of those things that I just wanted to jump in and just see to the extent of which it had been built. You know what I mean? Just go through and just explore and really experience that and experience why the guy built that. So there's two ways that we sort of engage with users in an advanced way. The first is native advertising, which is pretty straightforward. If you've got a property or a publisher where you know that they're driving you a lot of users, it makes sense for you to embed your advertising or embed your brand within their brand. Run up to Christmas or something like that, you want to make sure that people who have new devices and the audience that have the new devices are going to be going through and are going to be downloading your games and so on. And we found that there's an above average purchase intent we found that it was 53% higher, which basically means that once somebody's gone through, because the advertising experience is so aligned with the content that they're looking to see, that people are going in and they're purchasing DLC, engaging with microtransactions to a greater extent. And the second way that we engage with the users to a great extent is video. Now, video's an obvious choice at the moment with regards to mobile and how it's progressing, because 53% of the traffic is now video. People are, watching YouTube on their mobile phones. They're watching films on their tablets. It's very much on the rise with the consumption. And we found that there are above average engagement figures around video content, whether somebody's watching a video and they're like, this is a great video, I want to download the app, or somebody's watched the video and they're like, actually, I want to know a little bit more about that, or I want to know more about the wider company and other products that they have. So, going through, seeing what other applications are going through. Recently we tried to crack the video market for an incredibly long amount of time, and it's quite difficult to make sure that the video advertising is effective as possible. And most recently, we just went out and bought Ad Colony, who are also here as well, and brought them into the Opera Media Works family, because those guys really are the specialists in this area. And if you've got anything that you want to do surrounding video, I'd highly recommend that you go and talk to those guys, because it's impressive how much they know. So through the environment, we were able to expand the activity, and we were able to find users and bring them into the apps. So the second area that we focused on was the formats. Now, where we are currently is basically just doing some really cool stuff with engagement and advanced content. So building rich media ad units, which are effectively like Flash websites to showcase different content, be it videos, be it character bios, anything like that. And more recently, we've started building ad units which actually contain the game within inside them. So your users can just go through, play a level, and then once they go through to download the application, they already know what the game's about, and they're already intrigued by that. And a couple of people sort of throw in, you've unlocked X and Y achievement, and you've got this sort of content. So when we were running up to that, when we started off, we realized that size really does matter within the mobile sector. So to start off, on average, people are going to do banner-based activity. It's got an incredibly wide scope, and also it's got a pretty decent interaction rate. So we, on average, on our network or on our gaming channel, will see about a 1% click-through rate. Right? The next step up from that is MPU or half-page ad units, and basically just gives you a little bit more real estate. It means that you can get a bit more of that brand across, and it means that you can just portray more information. Because I was talking yesterday, actually, we had somebody with standard banners, and they tried to put all of the terms and conditions for their product within the standard banner within rotation. So to get the message across, you would have had to sit there and watch the ad for about 40 seconds, which is never going to happen. But the king of the formats, the standard formats, has to be the interstitial. So interstitial is a great branding presence, takes over the entire page, and also the interaction rates after the click are incredibly high as well, because the assumption with, there's two assumptions with the interstitial unit. First of all is that it's a lot of accidental clicks, which can happen, but the thing is that we see a lot of decent interaction in line with the other formats that are going through on interstitial. So it can't necessarily be everybody having sort of accidental clicks and so on. And the second is the sort of perception of it, because the interstitial is a prime piece of real estate. You're getting the attention of somebody between two states of mind, going to a next level, or starting up an application or exiting an application, whatever it may be. But they're shifting that mindset, and they're susceptible to the information that you're putting through to them. And it does have a higher price point on the interstitials. However, the interaction rates are phenomenal. So I would recommend that you at least give it a go, because interstitials are incredibly effective. So the other thing that we focus on is, now that we've got the right environment and we've got the right ads that we're putting through in the right formats, is optimization. And it's an understanding of how those ads and how that imagery can be put across as effective as possible. So little game here. I've got two creatives that we ran and alpha beta sort of testing. If anyone can spot the difference, then you win a £5. Anyone? No. Actually, there isn't a difference visually with the ads, but it's more about how the ads were portrayed on our network. So the first ad down the bottom is a standard banner. This is just the asset that we got from our advertiser, and started running the activity, and we saw that it got a really a pretty decent conversion rate, like a 0.9% conversion rate. We're running a lot of activity at that time. But what we did was we optimized the banner, and we tried to get the most out of it, and we managed to increase the conversion rate almost 3 times. Okay, and it wasn't anything magical that we did to it. We just made sure that it was as effective as possible on our network. So we reduced the file size. We made sure that the asset itself auto-formatted for whatever environment it was presented into. And because that message was put across instantly to the to the user, it meant that they just felt more comfortable with the brand and then engaged with it to a greater extent. These two ads had exactly the same click-through rate. So there's no difference with regards to the positioning of it or anything like that. It's just solely one loaded faster. It was lesser file size. And our advertiser managed to generate more installs off of the back of it. So to round up, I thought I'd just run through some strategy pieces that we've sort of worked out, because it's been multiple launches, it's been multiple products going through. So first of all, we're probably going to know, first 48 hours are absolutely crucial when you're submitting activity. You want to start strong. You want to make sure that you're focusing on your fans, that you're going after sites which mean that you will get a big boost in your audience, and through the App Store submission multipliers, you're going to sort of rocket up the charts. But then you've got to identify what it is about those users that can be transferred to other environments, and how that can be utilized throughout a display network or whatever it may be. Because if you keep going after users who just want to download the apps, you're going to run out of users relatively fast. But not just identifying the users is crucial. It's sharing that information. So the guy on before me was saying about how third-party data enriches all of the experience and everything like that. And it means that if we have third-party information, so who's downloading, where they're downloading, and everything like that, we can make sure that we're targeting the users that you actually want to hit, as opposed to just getting people through the door. Because we've got advanced audience management technology that we're deploying. So we'll take age and gender, we'll find that context of the publisher, geolocation, social feeds. We can even tell and target by the apps that people have on their handset. But what we're doing is we're creating a general channel, and the general channel is more effective than just running throughout our entire network. So our gaming channel will be more effective than just going all over the place. But without that data, without that user data, without who's interacting with your product and who are the users that you guys want to interact with, there's no point in going into the detail that we go into, because we want to make sure that we're getting you an audience for the long term. And then what we can do is we can do some cool stuff. We can do some customization. We can make sure that we send different adverts to different subsections of your audience. And we can even make sure that we customize the activity by the apps that the people have on the phone, as I said before. So what we can do is we can say, right, okay, well, this user has the top 5 gaming apps in the market currently. We know that they're actively into their gaming. We know that they're likely to want to engage with your product, so we can serve them one of your ads. But one of the cooler things that we can do is we can isolate if the user already has your app and already has your product, because what that allows you to do is to have zero wastage on the advertising that you're doing, because you're either engaging or you're re-engaging with the user. And we've seen that engagement's cool, engagement's good, getting new users on board, understanding people, it's it can lead to a lot of growth, and the probability that you're going to convert those new prospects is pretty high if you're just going through like a gaming channel, or if you incorporate different stats. But it's not as good as re-engaging. It's not as good as finding that core audience, understanding it, targeting new users for those, but also making sure that you're keeping the guys who are investing in your product suite, that you're re-engaging with them in different formats. And you can see that the probability of converting an existing customer is like 3 times higher. It's exceptionally large numbers if you just make sure that you're saying hello to your valued customers whenever you see them. So that's how we've increased the downloads for our advertiser. That's how we've increased the brand and the impact that they have in the market, and that's how we've been working with them for so long. As I said before, our colleagues at Ad Colony, absolutely amazing for any video activity that you guys want to do. If you have any more questions or you want to chat for anything further, we're literally just outside that door, and it'd be great to see you. Thank you very much.
Are there any questions?
Yeah, I didn't got it if this is only advertising through a browser, Opera browser, or it's also just like a plugin or I don't know, something that you can put in your app and then get, I don't know, video advertisements and.
Okay, so Opera browser is one of our publishers, one of our core publishers, but it's only one of the 17,000 publishers that we work with. So our technology will be, our SDK will be inside of Sky and various other advertisers throughout the world, and we will be able to advertise within those apps for whatever type of activity that you're doing. So if you have an application, you can embed our SDK, and we can start serving ads for you.
Any other questions?
Cool. Thanks for your
Justin,
time,
thank
guys.
you very much.